What's up, y'all? Welcome back to day 4 of the Resurrecting Relationships series. If you haven't caught any of the ones previous to this one right here, make sure you go back and catch. There was 3 more before this, so go check those out. So this week we've been talking about forgiveness. We started by identifying it. After we identified it, we talked about the weight of it and how it bears on us. And then we talked about understanding what forgiveness actually is, which is just completely releasing the debt. But today we got to talk about what comes next, because forgiving someone's one thing, but what do you do after that? Let's be real for a second too. Some of the stuff that we have to forgive in our lives isn't that small. Some of us really truly feel the hurt that came along with whatever it is that happened. And what they did really matters to some people, and forgiving them doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. A lot of people think that if you forgive them, that you have to just go back to normal, and that's not really true at all. Forgiveness and reconciliation are 2 different things. Forgiveness takes the heart. Reconciliation takes 2 people. Romans 12:18 says, "If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone." So what does that mean? That means do your part. You can't control theirs, but what matters is that you do yours, and that you take that step even if it's uncomfortable to do your part. Because you could forgive somebody and set a boundary, especially when there's real hurt. But here's the other side of this. Sometimes there's a step that you need to take. And just like we've been talking about all week with Matthew 5, where we talked about, before you bring anything to me, go make peace with anybody that you might have a problem with. That means don't avoid it. So not to control the outcome of it and not to force anything, but just to be obedient to God and to forgive, truly, and be at peace yourself with all of it. So sometimes that step might look like reaching out. Sometimes that step might be a conversation, even if that conversation ends up being emotional. And some of it is owning your own part of it, even if they don't own their part of it. And that happens sometimes. And that's where a lot of people are right now. You've already released what you've felt inside, but you still feel the weight of what happened. And just because you forgave him doesn't mean that it disappears overnight, but it does mean that you're not carrying it the same way anymore. So you're deciding, do I step towards this or do I leave it where it's at? And sometimes that's a conversation, and sometimes that's a boundary. But sometimes that's just peace in your own heart, and that's all we could really hope for at the end of the day. Because remember when I had Pastor Dave on, he talked about forgiveness, and he talked about the fact that being unforgiven is almost like drinking arsenic, expecting the other person to be poisoned from it, and that's not realistic, right? So today I want you to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, is there a step that I need to take in this relationship that we're trying to bring back to life? Is there a step that I need to take? Did I do everything on my end that was necessary? And if there is, take that step. Again, not to control the outcome, but just to do your part. And if you know somebody who needs this, make sure you send it to them and walk through this together, because this week is about resurrecting relationships. Because resurrection wasn't just a moment, but it's a life we live.